Welcome to White Heat TV. My name's James, and I'm going to be talking about some of the controversies that Prince Charles has been involved in over the years. I've got this script. Let's go. King Charles III married Lady Diana Spencer, Princess Diana, in a grand ceremony on July the 29th, 1981. The world watched as the fairy tale wedding unfolded, and Diana became the people's princess. Yeah, I'm not really keen on that sort of cliche word, the people's princess. Never was. I mean, it's not like you can play the lottery or play a raffle and win a ticket to go and see her down the Dog and Duck or something like that, is it? You know, I mean, you could say that maybe she was the people's princess because she was entirely funded almost exclusively by taxpayers' money, maybe. Behind the scenes, however, their marriage faced significant challenges. Charles and Diana had different interests, personalities, and expectations. Their ages were different, and there was 12 years between both of them. This may have potentially played a role. Yeah, I mean, I just see it as that obviously Charles couldn't marry Camilla, and you know, he needed someone to give him an heir and a spare, and you know, she was of royal distant extraction, you know, of royal distant blood, that's aristocracy basically, and you know, she sort of fit the bill for that, really. They had a completely entirely different sort of viewpoints of life, and you know, well, it sort of the marriage did what was expected of it by producing an heir and a spare. Throughout their marriage, Charles maintained a close friendship with Camilla Parker Bowles, whom he had known since the early 1970s. Their relationship was more than just platonic, and rumours of an affair circulated. The other woman, Diana famously quipped, this was in a 1995 interview with Martin Bashir. You know, it's a little bit of a controversial interview in hindsight with the tactics that the BBC used to get Diana onto the programme. It was a deeply controversial interview at the time. It polarised quite a lot of opinion. Many people in the country thought that she shouldn't have been exposing her views about the royal family and revealing like the deepest sort of intimate information about their marriage on BBC One in the evening, whereas other people thought that she had every right to go and speak about an unhappy marriage on BBC One in the evening. You know, there were only 4 channels back then, so probably got a lot of high viewing figures for the BBC. So, you know, kudos to them, I guess. Oh, apart from the fraudulent bank statements that were created by the BBC and Martin Bashir's sort of falsifying of these documents. You know, apart from that, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Referring to Charles and his relationship with Camilla, this candid statement shocked the world and intensified public interest. Well, yeah, it did. Media sensation with the British tabloids, they feasted on the drama, and the paparazzi followed Diana relentlessly, capturing her every move. The media portrayed her as a wronged wife, whilst Charles faced criticism for his perceived insensitivity. I ran out of paper on my printer, so I'm just going to read this next bit from the phone. Such a pro. According to Alan Peters, who served as a personal protection officer to Prince Charles for nearly a decade, Princess Diana was actually the first of the couple to have an affair. She cheated on the senior royal, that's King Charles / Prince Charles. She cheated on the senior royal with a police bodyguard named Barry Manaki. Peters revealed this in a new CNN documentary titled Diana. Wow, that was the original title, wasn't it? You know, I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't called The People's Princess. Quote, the popular perception is that the Prince of Wales was straying all the way through his marriage, and that definitely, unequivocally, is not the case. Princess Diana tried to deny she had an affair, but eventually acknowledged it during a private speech coaching tape revealing that she fell deeply in love with Manaki when she was 24 or 25 years old. So, you know, she got married at like 19 or 20. I probably should have fact-checked these things, you know, but it's more or less right. 19, 20 years old when she got married. Interestingly, Diana's alleged affair with Manaki wasn't the only extramarital affair linked to the late princess. Former British Army Captain James Hewitt also revealed that he was in a relationship with Diana between 1986 and 1991. That's a long time. The highly publicised divorce of Prince Charles and Princess Diana remains one of the greatest scandals in... The highly publicised divorce of Prince Charles and Princess Diana remains one of the greatest scandals in modern royal history, with the Prince of Wales' infamous affair with Camilla Parker Bowles being a deciding factor in their split. The revelation of Charles's infidelity tarnished the image of the royal family, and Diana's popularity soared, and she became a symbol of resilience and grace. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how particularly graceful sometimes it was. I mean, Diana did contact the press, and she arranged her own PR exercise to make there was a heart surgeon that she was dating, and he was called Hasna Khan, and she basically, allegedly by some of her friends, reported that she called the press and arranged the famous kiss photograph scene. It's a bit strange, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of like you like the publicity and the press and everything when it's going positively, but when you don't like the sort of invasion of privacy, then you don't want it. I mean, you sort of can't have it both ways. I mean, obviously the press have a leering, paparazzi have a bit of a leering scumbag reputation, but it's not true to say that she didn't sort of manipulate the press in some way to be able to get shots. The world was overwhelmed and fascinated, and like I said, there were only 4 channels in the UK at the time, so there's not really much going on really. What I would say that if you compare like a public figure that's spent their entire life doing charity work, like Princess Anne, for example, like she never got any media coverage whatsoever, and probably the reason for that, of course, is that beautiful, scantily clad women sell newspapers because, well, men want to. How can I put it? Men want to be with them, and women want to be them, obviously. So, you know, it's not quite a cut and shut dry scenario where she entirely wanted the publicity to be completely gone. You know, I mean, she did want the fame, and she also did want the fame. But these are the decisions that you make when you marry the the future head of state. You could argue that she was young and naive, but I pretty much think that the finishing schools and the education that she had was entirely much of it was designed for the old school of sort of marrying into the aristocracy. That was sort of kind of the sort of matchmaker idea, wasn't it, really? No, I'm sure that if Charles had his time again, he probably would have found someone else or married Camilla. The whole thing was just a mistake, apart from the air and despair, of course. That wasn't a mistake. So, yeah, the marriage did what it said on the tin, except the tin was a bit smashed. So a month later, after that photograph was taken, Diana was tragically killed in a car accident, as most people know. So, yeah, a bit of a tragic story, but a very controversial moment. And I do remember when, in the following days after Princess Diana was died in a car crash, there was huge controversy at the time because the Union flag wasn't being flown half-mast at Buckingham Palace. I mean, as far as the royal family concerned, that wasn't protocol. The flag only flew at half mast when the Queen was in residence in Buckingham Palace, which she wasn't because she'd gone to Scotland, one of her palaces, to get away from all of the sort of attention, the drama of everything, essentially. And I think they misunderstood and misread the public. And at the time, there was very real, tangible feelings of revolution in the air, almost revolution. People were talking about this as the end of the monarchy, and how Prince Charles would never dare marry Camilla. Well, I mean, look at the situation now. 27 years later, Camilla's in the newspaper all the time as the Queen, and it's strange, isn't it, how quickly people forget. But that was very real, potential sort of sweeping changes could have definitely happened in the royal family if they hadn't have come back, if they hadn't have read the press right. So yeah, and obviously one of the reasons why the marriage failed is because Charles is very very cold in terms of the relationships, really. And even in now, some people obviously discredit the Prince Harry's book. What's that? What it's called now? It's called Spare or something, isn't it? Where he says that even after his mother died, that Charles didn't even give him a hug. But that's what the royal family is. It's an anachronistic, steeped in tradition, stiff upper lip, stoic British organisation, essentially, which is from the days of empire. When people were supposed to just shut up and put up with the situation and never reveal anything. And that really sort of clashed, and it was very much of a turning point in the news at the time. And that caused, after the crash, the royal family's general response caused an absolute outcry, And still, the Daily Mail goes on about it. That's a newspaper in the UK. They never shut up about Diana. It's been going on for like 40 years of incessant coverage. Just give it a rest. Give it a bloody rest. Reports emerged that a former Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim, made cash donations totaling €3 million to Prince Charles's charitable foundation. These donations were allegedly handed over in small suitcases and a Fortnum and Mason carrier bag during 3 meetings between 2011 and 2015. Shit, I wish someone would give me a really cash bag full of €3 million. I didn't find 5 pence on the street. Although I did find a £20 note on the floor once, and I put it in my pocket, and then I realised that I dropped my £20 note, and it was my £20 note. The Charity Commission considered whether to launch a review into these donations. However, assessing the information provided by the charity, they decided against further regulatory action. The Commission expressed no concerns about the governance of the Prince's charity and found that the due diligence had taken place. Cash donations were legally allowed, and there were no indications of illegality. I'd just like to point out that if I flew back on a plane, right, with €3 million in bags of cash, I might get away with it, but I might not. But I wouldn't be sitting on EasyJet's economy seats or whatever it was, or even in first class. I wouldn't be sitting in, say, British Airways first class. I wouldn't be sitting there with the brown trousers moment thinking about that. I wouldn't be walking through customs. The reason is that Prince Charles has immunity from prosecution as head of state and future head of state. And he's supposed to be an impartial person who goes about making the best decisions for the country that they can. And I do think that walking out of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, walking out of Qatar with £3 million stuffed in a bag. It's not good luck, is it? The chair of the foundation, Sir Ian Cheshire, acknowledged that accepting such a large amount of cash might not be a good look. Well, there you go. That's what I just said. From an optics perspective, sorry. However, he highlighted that it was not uncommon for wealthy individuals in the Middle East to use cash during that time. More recent money laundering regulations would likely prevent similar large cash donations today. In February 2020, London's Metropolitan Police launched an 18-month investigation into the Prince's Foundation. Media reports suggested that a Saudi businessman was offered honours in exchange for donations to the charity. And recently the police dropped the investigation, citing no further action, whilst the controversy raised concerns. No evidence of illegality was found. Well, how nice. Serious allegations have surfaced suggesting that the foundation engaged in unethical practices relating to donations. According to reports, there were instances where potential donors were allegedly promised honours such as knighthoods or other prestigious titles, or even British citizenship in exchange for their financial contributions to the foundation. These allegations raise concern about the integrity of the foundation's operations and the potential misuse of influence and privilege. Yeah, like citizenship for cash and stuffing cash in bags, for God's sake. That's more than controversial. It's illegal, right? It's illegal. In the UK, there's a £10,000 limit to bring back into the country. And also, you can get face prosecution and prison time for bringing back over that amount. But obviously, if you've got immunity from prosecution, then I suppose you can do what you like if you're head of state, can't you? You can just do whatever you can get into a car, and you can ram it into a tree at 120 miles an hour. As long as it's a good car, which it will be if it's the royal family, then you're fine. Charles's endorsement of homeopathy has raised eyebrows. Yeah, homeopathy. It's bullshit. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's just bullshit. It doesn't work. Homeopathy is a form of alternative medicine that relies on the principle of like cures like. Right, so if I get a broken leg, and I just break my leg just a little bit, and that will cure it, right? It involves highly diluted substances, often to the point where no molecules of the original substance remain, to treat various ailments. Homeopathy lacks scientific evidence and plausibility. Its fundamental principles defy established scientific knowledge, including the laws of chemistry and physics. Critics argue that homeopathy is essentially a placebo, relying on the power of suggestion rather than any inherent medical properties. There was a hospital or a clinic, I think, in the UK, and it was shut down in 2010 because they were giving out homeopathic remedies. Charles basically condones this in conjunction with actual medicine. But quite frankly, I mean, you might as well just give someone like a bag of crap, and say, here you go, here's a bag of shit. Actually, that's probably a bad example, because the bag of shit might make you ill. But, give someone a pretend invisible trophy, there you go. And it would have exactly the same effect, and probably exactly the same effect as prayer. It's pure placebo. It's the mind working on the body, not anything external whatsoever. And if you'd like a glimpse into the critical thinking capacities of a person who believes in homeopathic medicine and that this can cure anything, well, you can literally Google it in about 5 seconds and find out that it's just the biggest load of horse that you've ever seen. For those of you watching in the United States or elsewhere, Cornwall is a county in the south west of England. And just some context, and they really have always wanted independence from the United Kingdom, despite having like no infrastructure whatsoever apart from tourism, essentially. Unemployment down there in Cornwall is pretty bad, and they've had an independence movement for a while with this. They've got the Cornish flag, which is sort of a sort of adaptation of the St. George flag, which, again, many Americans don't know what the St. George flag is, but I'll pop an image on screen. This one here is the English. This one here is the English flag here, and this one here is the Cornish flag. So they've basically made their own flag because they don't really like being part of the United Kingdom, essentially, or part of England. My point being that this must sort of exacerbate the next sort of controversy, which is to do with this county of Cornwall. The Duchy of Cornwall, valued at around £1 billion, is an estate owned by Prince Charles. However, it's a massive amount of land in Cornwall. By the way, it's huge swathes. Cornwall. It has been at the centre of controversy due to special exemptions granted to it. Residents living on Prince Charles's estate have been denied legal rights to buy their homes outright. These exemptions were later incorporated into parliamentary acts preventing residents from owning their properties. Under an opaque procedure known as Queen's Consent, both the Queen and Prince Charles were allowed to vet the contents of bills related to the exemptions before they were passed by Parliament. As a result, residents find themselves in homes with diminishing or no financial value, unable to borrow against their properties for essential needs like social care. Jane Giddins, a resident in one of the Prince's houses in Somerset, describes this system as a feudal and anachronistic system, unfairly favouring Prince Charles whilst leaving residents in a precarious scandal. Yeah, so that's pretty bad. For someone who's supposed to be a completely independent, impartial figurehead only. He's head of the church, head of the armed forces, and head of the country, basically. But it's quite telling, isn't it, that he's literally allowed to go and vet laws that affect his patch of land, whilst he has immunity from prosecution into the bargain as well. It's a bit sick, quite frankly. These exemptions serve to preserve the financial value of Prince Charles's estate by denying the residents the right to buy their homes. He ensures a steady stream of income through rent payments from tenants. Curiously, the exact reasons behind how and why Prince Charles secured professional treatment from the government remain undisclosed. I bet they do. The arcane parliamentary process of Queen's Consent has allowed the monarch to vet over 1,000 parliamentary bills. 1,000 parliamentary bills? Shit. During her reign. It checks whether any of these bills affect the Crown or her private interests. Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks. And all because of an accident of birth, you're allowed to circumvent the law. It's not fair, is it? Prince Charles too. This text is obviously it's taken before the Queen died, but Prince Charles too benefits from this mechanism. He screens proposed laws to safeguard his property estate, the Duchy of Cornwall. That's now passed on to Prince William now, which provides him with an annual private income of approximately £22 million. And just for the record, that is 785 times more than the average annual salary that a person in the UK receives of £28,000. The controversy extends beyond Prince Charles. Both King Charles and the late Queen Elizabeth II have received payments equivalent to over £1 billion from two land and property estates. These estates have been at the heart of a centuries-old debate. Should their profits be given to the public instead? The question remains unsolved, stirring ongoing discussions about transparency. I've just put the script over my head during that whole bit. Damn it. Well, it's been it remains to be unsolved, but quite clearly, just give the land back. Just give the land back to the people and stop being so greedy. You got the privy purse already, you know. You don't really. Yes, there's palace maintenance to pay. I understand that, and quite clearly, the British public do want a monarch inside the houses of inside Buckingham Palace and all these other estates. The country wants them in there. You know, they want a monarch who's able to force laws to be not passed. You know, who takes bags of cash from the Middle East under weird false pretenses. This isn't liable, is it? It's fine. Right, so this one isn't actually directly related exclusively to King Charles himself. But basically every week, as part of the constitutional monarchy, the Prime Minister holds a weekly meeting with the current Prime Minister holds a meeting with whichever. My God, that's a trying to say whoever the current Prime Minister is will have a meeting with whoever the current monarch is, basically, which is kind of a moot point because it hadn't changed it's only changed once in like 75 years or whatever the hell it was. So the monarch, or whoever it is supposed to remain impartial and neutral. However, they can advise the Prime Minister if they feel the need to. They can advise and warn the Prime Minister when the monarch feels that it's necessary to do so. I would argue that this is, it's not just a figurehead, and I'm sure that over the years that potential prime ministers have been influenced. I mean, if you look at the argument is that, especially with the Queen, that it was something that was always in place. It was some sort of stability to advise prime ministers. I mean, I would argue that that's sort of exactly the wrong way round. You want somebody that's not in the position purely by accident of birth who can advise the Prime Minister on specific issues. And don't forget, if you want to join my Patreon, it's in the link below, patreon.com/James Connor. For $1 a month, you can get extra content and you can get your name flashing up on the end credits of the video. Thanks for watching.